Hello and welcome back to another new edition of Windows and Current Affairs, and today we talk about the 6th of October War victory. Last week we were commemorating or celebrating the 46th anniversary of this glorious victory of the 6th of October War, and of course, as usual, different pieces of drama. The movie industry was very significant in commemorating that particular event that brought pride to all Egyptians ever since 1973 and until 2019 and forever, inshallah. And today we talk about the Egyptian drama. How did it document the 1973 October War victory? Ever since it started, a comparison between back then at that time in the 1973 and today until the piece of work or the movie, The Passage or Al-Mamar. How did it document an incident, a glorious incident that took place stages of years before and brought it live to our eyes once back again? And how did it bring that spirit to us? How did it revive the memory of victory, of glory, of pride, of nationalism? It have evoked all these feelings all at once during that 1 hour at the time of the movie, or an hour or so or more. Today we're going to be talking about the role of drama, the series, the TV series, the icons of that particular drama when it comes to the war and the victory of the 6th of October. How did the movie industry progressed ever since the 60s and 70s and until today, the pros and cons. We're going to talk about too many things. Please join us in this edition of Windows and Current Affairs. And today we're very delighted to have a specialist who's going to give us his valuable input, Mr. Yahia al-Mahdy. He's an artist and a film critic. Good evening, Mr. al-Mahdy. Where do we start? Should we start with the drama? How did the movie industry play a huge role in orchestrating the thinking of people, the emotions, the spirit? How did it push or enforce the spirit during the October War victory? We're going to start from 1973. How did the songs of Abd al-Halim Hafiz evoke our spirits as Egyptians, and even encourage and empowered and enforced the armed forces back then at that time?
Yes, of course. First, I will take some words of your introduction for the movie Al-Mamar. And this was an award for us of all, because all of us sings or has a great souvenirs about the War of October. Our ages, especially me. I'm an old man, so I remember well this great souvenir. But the young, with the new generations, have a less of knowledge about this great victory of October. I saw that when the film, The Passage or Al-Mamar, signed by Sharif Arafah, was screened during, I think, the month of July, past July, after Ramadan, and after a great deal of series and a lot of talk show programs. But it's a great surprise that all of the young people wanted to view this film, as was a great success also. And after this film was, I watched this film, I watched this film 3 or 4 years ago on TV for the first time. Meanwhile, I think that it was a nice film, new film, and a light history for the young, as I said, for the young people, exactly. All of us, as I told, know the story of October, but this film exactly mentioned a great period since 1977 till the preparation of the victory of or the war of October 73, and this was a very important period, which the most don't have any knowledge about this period.
Let me start off with you at talking about your memories back then at the time. You have, of course, you have very significant memories that are lightening your memory when it comes to every year we celebrate, we commemorate that victory. Probably back then at that time, the black and white. In 1973,
yes,
and those movies, the composers, even the lyrics, someone like Bali Hamdi, someone like the singer Warda, vocal cords like her,
yes,
and a composer like Bali Hamdi, Abdul Halim Hafiz, and other icons back then that will never be, forgotten, to never be repeated. There isn't even another copy of those people.
yes.
Talk to us about these memories back then.
Yes, I remember very well these memories. It was a very great memories for my child. My memories. I think I remember first time I know Warda directly. And I listened to the song, the great song, the famous song "Ala Rababa," and what she told to me how is the sacrifice about this for recording this song, especially at the period of the war. It's very difficult time to enter studios and to pay for the musicians and so on. It was very difficult. But Balik Hamdi decided to make the music of this, or record the music of this song, especially at I think 2 o'clock at the 7th or the 8th of October, 8th of October 73. Without any money, he decided to give the soldiers an effort and to encourage the effort of the.
So these songs were directed towards, were dedicated to the soldiers.
Yes, of course.
How was the atmosphere? Back then, the songs were played for the soldiers, and the soldiers were back then at the time at the war field, and they heard it in the radio.
I want to tell you, yes.
Did they hear it in the radio?
Yes, of course. I want to tell you something. The art generally, the art is very important. Letters.
Very influential.
Yes, of course. I remember also a very important reclam, like several reclams. We easily remember the words or easily remember the message of the publicity of the reclam by the music or by the art. Then reading it as a book or as writing. I see that the reclam or the art in generally is very easily message to the other. As you talk for soldiers, yes, is a great message for the soldiers. They encourage him exactly this song, especially this song على الربابة and other سمينا وعدي أو بسم الله. Bismillah, another song by Balik Hamdi, or composed the music by Balik Hamdi also. These two songs exactly encourage and has a great influence to the spirit of the soldier. And it's very, I think I see that any people, and especially the new generation, when we encourage them, they give. they give a very great result.
They gave great results.
Yes, exactly.
Let's talk about how did the art and the movie industry monitor the political scene back at that time? How was the transparency of what was happening on real ground in the war field transformed to the Egyptians inside the country, domestically? How were the icons? I mean, we're talking about actors and actresses,
Yes.
the public figures. I mean, that type of the great movie industry, when we talk about movie industry, we talk also about the great directors back then at that time. Yahia Shaheen, and you can help me
Magda, yes. I
remembering.
have the chance to
I
meet
mean the directors in their own
the
right.
directors, yes.
However, there has been a decline in the movie industry worldwide right now, because when we talk about all directors like Martin Scorsese, for example,
Yes.
the great John Carpenter, I mean other very strong directors, Steven Spielberg.
Yes.
There are directors that you can never even repeat in the contemporary age. So how did the movie industry monitor the real life on the ground back then at that time?
By comparison, I don't like this words, the comparison, but the director is very important. Any director is very important, because I see the director is the factory of the film, of course. Any director, because he exactly design the first stage of any characters. As a film, as a series, as any important art work. For your question about the director or the comparison between the last and the recent, exactly. During the war, the atmosphere is different, of course, because all of us, all of citizens are charged by the hope of victory, of course, after a great a darkness years before our victory in October 73 was 23. So actor is in general, actor is a citizen. So of course he that I remember, I want to say something. I have the chance to meet the great actress Magda Sabah. During after she shooting acting the film titled العمر لحظة. Her producer, he was the producer of the film. He told me, he told me it's very intelligent and very genius actresses. I played this movie because I feel that I'm not Magda, I am the Namat. I know the name of her character. Namat, the journalist. I felt, she told me that. I felt that I am Namat, exactly the journalist of the history of the story of the film. So I accept to produce and to play this movie. Then I remember I saw the film with her before making the soundtrack, and the soundtrack was composed also by the great musician Baligh Hamdi. And we remember, all of us remember the famous song بحبك يا بلادي. It's between the events of the film. Now we listen to this song, I think.
And many other songs.
Many other songs, of course, but this song in the film. The film العمر لحظة.
Let's talk about your memory about the most important movies that documented this particular stage in our lives, which was the foundation of a renaissance
of
during
October
our lives.
2017 or January?
The 6th of October. Or how did pieces of work, in the movie industry documented? What were the most significant movies that reflected that glorious victory in our lives? There were different pieces of work or movies in black and white and colored also.
Yes.
That talked about the October War, and we still remember it until now.
Yes. Let's begin by the colors. I remember the movie, the color, the color
colored
movie.
ones,
Yes,
right.
yes. I remember حتى آخر العمر. A very very nice film. I remember also the famous music by Omar Khurshid. We all when all of us when we listen this piece of music related by the film and vice versa also, but this film has a great souvenir in my memory, because I saw this film for the first time at the cinema with my family. I remember also the time when I saw this film exactly after this was after the war, after the victory. And also الرصاصة لا تزال في جيبي, also the great film. أغنية على الممر, this black and white film, but it's very
one of the best pieces.
Yes, of course. And one of the best, not also a film or one of the best group of actors, like I remember Salah al-Saadani, Mahmoud Yassin, and other. And also أبناء الصمت. أبناء الصمت, Mahmoud Morsi, the great artist Mahmoud Morsi. Mahmoud Morsi was a great artist also, acting acting without acting, the impressions of his eyes, his figure.
President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, when he attended the Cultural Symposium of the Armed Forces,
Yes.
he inspired the whole nation with a very influential speech that talked about important values in life and talked about what we're talking about right now, the spirit of awareness, the spirit of belonging to our nation, the spirit of glorifying our heroes and paying tribute to them, and also the spirit of having pride in ourselves, in our abilities and in our victory, and starting to build on it from now on until the future. Reviving this national spirit only came with the Egyptian administration. I mean, talk to us about how were you impressed by the President's speech during the Cultural Symposium of the Armed Forces, and the several points that he focused on that you think is evoking the national spirit once again by only one inspirational leader who talked to his people like a father and inspires them with a national spirit and belonging.
Yes, as you talked, during the educational symposium, our president evokes especially to give a great notice to the young, how to maximize the great role of our armed forces, because we all know that we decided our armed forces is our protective shield against any danger to our
not only during wars, but also during turbulence.
And always,
and we have
forever.
During the past 10 years, we have been through
forever.
different bumps and different stages, good
Of
and bad,
course,
ups and
yes.
downs. And all the time long, it was the armed forces who had been the backbone of the country. We're going to continue to talk about the armed forces as our backbone, our shield, and our driving force and point of strength, but after the short break, so stay with us. Welcome back, and we're still on with Windows and Current Affairs, and we also remember a beautiful song that everyone, even those who were not present back then at that moment, I mean the generation of 2000 and 2001, 2003, of course the 1973 generation remembers this song very much, but people, I mean our youngsters, do not really recognize the spirit behind that particular song. But that particular song, for example, Mr. Yahya, evoked a very point of a very important or a very high sense of strength amongst even the people in the war field.
Yes, of course.
The generals, the army, and everything. It was such a great time.
Of course.
What were we talking about before the? I totally forgot because I'm really touched by the song.
Yes, this song is the music.
And until this very moment, 46 years, when we hear the same songs, and we're really touched, and we could even cry when we remember how united we were, and even the Arab countries were united, and it was a complete saga that reflected our strength, the Arab world, one hand against the enemy.
Yes, of course.
Though that the generations of war have changed and the types of war and everything have changed, but still it's a pride to the Egyptians.
Exactly. I want to tell you something. This song, or I want to take back before our short enters. We talked about the great role of our armed forces. It means the courage. I remember a few words by Socrates. Without courage, without courage, there is no truth, and without truth, there is no virtue. Understand? This is a very, very, very strong. Our soldiers, our army is our courage, and this the truth, the virtue. About the song, I remember these words by listening to this song, this music, because. For example, this composed by Balik Hamdi. Balik Hamdi loved Egypt because he told me Egypt is in my blood, like the Nile. The Nile is our life, of course. An Egyptian, the Nile is his life, of course. Balik Hamdi, Egypt is in his soul, in his blood. When we listen, for example, this song, you see what your essential inside. It's very, very, very not very great, of course, very great essential or very, very great sentimental, but the influence of the music. And this take me to talk about the musicians. For example, we have Omar Khorshid. Omar Khorshid was a genius musician. His symbol is the guitar. When we till now, when we listen any guitar, we remember Omar Khorshid. Omar Khorshid was genius because he expressed perfectly the meaning of the scene by his music. After Omar Khorshid, we have Ammar al-Shari'i. Ammar al-Shari'i also was a very great and very intelligent musician by his harp. We don't forget the great music of the series Ra'fat al-Haggan and so on, the very famous pieces of music. After now we have Yasser Abdurrahman. We remember, for example, Ayam Sadat. The music of Ayam Sadat is very spiritual music and very, very attractive also soundtrack. And then we have the great musician Omar Khayrat. the music of the song of the package, the film El Mamar. It's very, very strongly music, and very also great words by I think Amir Taima.
Right, but it's very noticeable that there is a great sense of a flashback into the national spirit movie, and how the patriotic movies, those types of movies that evoke the national spirits. Let's take, for example, the Passage or the Al Mamar, as if people were waiting for a movie like that. It came by, and it have gathered people from all walks of lives, from even different stages of lives, even youth, even the new generation, together with the elderly, together with other types of people, all Egyptians have gathered to agree on one thing, that they really enjoyed that movie, and it has evoked huge feelings inside them. Why? How do you justify that?
We all named something, the seasonal phenomenon. This, I think, this movie is a return to this seasonal. So all the young, all the people was anxious to see a new version or new movie or new versions of movie, because I see that during the past years we repeat the same movies as I told about. But El Mamar is a great or a new surprise of us, of all.
Right, but how do you assess this movie? Do you think that it really succeeded in reflecting and signifying that particular stage back then in a totally exact way, or it wasn't as good as the good old ones?
No, yes.
Because the actors are a totally different generation, and they are not the people who have witnessed that particular stage in Egypt's history. So were they good in reflecting it?
Yes, of course. I read very, very different opinions about this a great movie, and some opinions it repeat not news, not it's a very a copy of an old movie, أغنية على الممر and صرصرة فوق النيل. But in my opinion, I see that this film remind especially the young people, the young about the as I told, the great period of our war against the enemy. When I watched this film the last hour only, only the last hour. I was attracted by 2 or 3, all of course all are honors, okay, or errors, or an actors and great actors, but attract me exactly the rule of Iyad Nassar. He turns the rule very perfectly and very definitely as the Israeli soldiers. His impression, his simplicity during his acting, and Ahmed Reza also. I remember Sarsara فوق النيل, the rule of
Sarsara فوق النيل.
Yes,
yeah, and many others. If you keep talking about all the pieces, good pieces of work, will take more than one episode. But unfortunately, our time is running by, and I'm afraid we'll have to end it here. It has been very good taking that flashback with you, Mr. Yahia Al Mahdy, and you are an artist and a film critic. I've really enjoyed that particular flashback with you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I guess this brings us to the end of this edition of Windows and Current Affairs. Many thanks to all of you. And until we see you again next week, that's a goodbye.
تذبحنا مصر بسم الله بسم الله، تقريب النصر بسم الله بسم الله، تذبحنا مصر بسم الله بسم الله، تقريب النصر بسم الله بسم الله، وجنود الشعب بسم الله بسم الله، بتخطي الصعب بسم الله بسم الله، وجنود الشعب بسم الله بسم الله، بتخطي الصعب بسم الله بسم الله. الله أكبر أذن وكبر، الله أكبر أذن وكبر، وقول يا رب النصر تكبر بسم الله. الله أكبر بسم الله بسم الله بسم الله، أذن وكبر بسم الله بسم الله بسم الله. الله أكبر بسم الله بسم الله بسم الله، أذن وكبر بسم الله بسم الله. سينا يا سينا بسم الله بسم الله، أدينا عدينا بسم